we have a really, really big announcement right here. An announcement in the theme park world, one that caught a lot of people by surprise late yesterday. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this. From Universal Orlando Resort, just announced, we're expanding our universe to the Midwest with a brand new location of Universal Horror Unleashed in Chicago, Illinois, our first destination in the region. Get ready, Chicago. More details to come soon. Boy, oh boy, this is absolutely aggressive. And when people talk about how Universal is kind of like Disney at the 90s right now, I mean, they're very, very accurate. And in this way, they're really almost taking the play out of Disney's 90s playbook, because Chicago might feel a little bit weird, right? But back in the day, Disney developed a theme park concept called Disney Quest. And there were two locations for Disney Quest, right? One in downtown Disney at Walt Disney World and one in Chicago. So I think this is particularly interesting that they choose to set up here. Now, we know the history of Disney Quest, and well, it unfortunately didn't last. But for this, I think this is absolutely fantastic. It's kind of low stakes, easy to set up, I would think. And the location, Jonas, you're particularly going to love the location here because, well, Bill Zanetti actually talks about it. Anyone who thinks Horror Unleashed going into Chicago is a dumb idea doesn't realize how good the location they chose is. It's just south of Lincoln Park. It's on the Chicago River. There's both a CTA-L train, subway connection, and a Chicago River taxi stop nearby. And the most important thing, they are building a $1 billion casino across the street. And as I understand it, there will be plenty of parking. This is a good idea, in my honest opinion, and I applaud Universal on selecting Chicago as the next site for the project. But the building that they chose is actually the home of the Chicago Tribune, or at least it was. So,
oh, that's too good. That's too good.
It is absolutely fantastic. The mainstream media taking a backseat to entertainment. Some might consider them one and the same, but now one is replacing the other. Jonas, your thoughts on this?
That's okay. There's so much to unpack here. Let's start with the Chicago Tribune first. There's not as much of a need for a huge building for an operation like the Chicago Tribune anymore, since the legacy media doesn't need newsprint in the same way. They can work remotely. They're using services like the AP and Reuters and things like that. We can get that out of the way real quick. Also, I'm not quite familiar with the Chicago Tribune, but willing to guess that they were probably in that realm of being the mainstream media. This going in next to a casino, that's perfect. And it obviously shows that they were very intentional in what they did in Vegas, and now they're going to go do the same thing here. So this says to me that they could expand into different locations in the same way. Having a very close relationship with somebody who used to work at events that were like this at theme parks, rowdy drunk people are great for these and also the worst for these. So, there's a type that also enjoys going into these. I'm not judging everyone who wants to do it. Definitely not doing that. But just make sure they have good security that is willing to defend the performers who might get punched. Also, I know someone who scared a woman out of her wheelchair who walked a few steps and then crumpled into the ground.
Oh, goodness. Oh, wow.
She often jokes about how she performed a miracle that day.
That's really something right here. So we have a couple of thoughts.
The last thing I want to say here is on the Disney Quest thing. This is a totally different audience than Disney Quest. Even though it's in the same industry, it's a totally different audience.
It is indeed. And remember, Disney Quest was far more, I would say, ambitious in terms of the amount of installation work that you'd have to do in order to set up for a Disney Quest. It was a huge, massive structure filled with groundbreaking technology and the interactive space and so forth. A lot of R&D, a lot of research and development. This, I think, is a lot more low stakes. And like you said, Jonas, the crowd that would be interested in this, I think, is not only different, but it might be wider, especially given the investment. Mary Vita coming in here with a good one. Chicago Tribune used to be the king of news for the Midwest, but all like all legacy media, they faltered. And I like this from OG55 that is also in the chat. Pre-sale tickets for HHN Vegas must be doing very well for Universal to have the confidence to announce Chicago already. Good to see. That's a fair point right here. The Vegas location doesn't open until August 14th, if I'm not mistaken. And so we really don't know firsthand what this experience is going to be like, but Universal must have confidence in this to already be setting up another site for something like this. Nolan, your thoughts on this, and maybe provide maybe a little bit of insight, at least what you know from the Chicago area, and if this is a good location to go with.
All right. I'm going to start the Zen, be in my nice calm place because I'm trying not to geek out right now like I'm first in line at Comic-Con right now.
Please.
This is absolutely amazing news. When I saw the headline and it said Universal, horror, and Midwest in the same sentence, that alone was incredible. Because for those viewers, because, there's a lot of theme park fans that come out of Florida and California as they are huge coaster and theme park spots in America. There's just so much to do in those states. In the Midwest, we do not have a million different options. We might have Ohio, which is the California of the Midwest, but a lot of the states, there's not always a ton of things to do. We're pretty good about finding good children's entertainment, at least we have in the past. When you get into your elder years, there's a lot of community events. But for a lot of teenagers, young adults and all that, it's kind of hard to find something really fun to do unless you're trying to get into a lot of trouble, so to speak. And even then, it can be a bit tricky. To have something that's going to be amazing for dating, young couples, teenager groups, even if you're just, an adult group in general, this is a fun thing to do if you're into horror and immersion and all that. And as I kept citing Cedar Fair earlier, a lot of the theme parks even then are focused a lot on coasters and thrills. An immersive experience over here in the Midwest, even if it's in Chicago, which already does have a little bit of variety to it, it's not something that is super frequent. There's a reason we go so hard in the holiday season here with Halloween and Christmas, because it gives us a chance to really crank up the vibe from the more boring aspects of our area. And I think this is an absolute win. I really want to tag on to what Jonas was saying, where it seems like this is a very different audience from Disney Quest. It's going to be a complete different group of people coming in. And I think there is a huge, huge market for this kind of stuff. If you can see around here just how much people deck out their houses for Halloween, or the amount of effort that Cedar Fair does with Kings Island and Cedar Point when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights and The Haunt, there is so much production value goes into it because these things bring out droves in numbers. And I bet you're going to see a lot of high schoolers wanting to jump to this, young adults. It's going to be a magical experience, and I cannot be more happy about what's going on here. So yes, when this show wraps up, I am going to go scream outside in happiness. But yeah, I think it sounds like a great time.
This is
still let that wall share you.
Hey, he's still got the invite if he wants to join me for this. He can if you want.
Oh man, there's some Twitter history right there. I was looking at this, Ron, and I know firsthand that the big markets for Walt Disney World visitation, for example, I think are New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. Those different areas. I would have thought that in the tri-state area, this would have been a little bit more appropriate. I would have thought that it would have been maybe just a tad bit more successful. I was surprised that they're actually setting up in the Chicago area because of just the relative lack, I would say, of amusement offerings. As Nolan pointed out, in the Midwest right there, you just don't see a lot of it. This is a map of the combined parks from Cedar Fair, now Six Flags, and you can see there's not much on that side. Ron, do you think the location is good? Do you think it'll be embraced by the populace? And your thoughts on all of this?
I think the location's fantastic, especially using the Chicago Tribune building. I mean, it's that is absolutely perfect. I really hope that as one of the displays, or one of the monsters, maybe whatever you see in here, is Chicago's previous mayor, Lori Lightfoot, because she scares the heck out of me.
I thought that was coming.
And put her and Beetlejuice next to each other, and I swear they're related. Like, there's no way around it, right? Hey, Lori, you're looking good, pal. You know, I'm the ghost with the most, but you're the mayor with the least. So,
I guess it is. I guess it is fitting to set up in the corpse of what the Chicago Tribune. There you go.
It's funny because
that works out.
Chicago so many times. Look, this is great. What's really great about it being in Chicago is not that it's just in the Chicago, but it's the universal name in Chicago. Because look where that universal name is now going. You have Universal on the coasts, right, with the Florida parks and the California parks. Now you're putting Universal in Texas, Universal in Vegas, and Universal in Chicago. Now think about what you've done.
Right.
You have something universal that everybody in the United States can drive to very, very easily and get the name out there, which means more name recognition for Universal parks, which means more and more people associating Universal with vacation. Now, what happens just from a psychological standpoint is when people go to Florida, hey, what's even people that don't watch stuff like this, people that aren't tied into it, people that are just looking for vacation, and they then start to research and, hey, we're going to Florida. Oh, we got to think about Universal parks. What does Universal have in Florida? And then they start researching and they go, oh, wait a second. They got 3 parks in Florida now. They got a big old water park, Volcano Bay. I didn't realize that people really are. There are a lot of families that are going to wake up to the fact that Universal has this footprint that is basically equivalent vacation-wise when you're coming from a distance, the equivalent footprint to Disney. Now, it's not geographically the exact equivalent footprint as far as the size of Disney, but people coming from afar, they don't know that. The number of people that don't realize the sheer size of Walt Disney World that they come here, that doesn't like really affect people when they're planning their vacation. If they realize that they can actually get 3, maybe even 4 parks and a couple water parks if you add SeaWorld to it, that same level of vacation in a smaller geographical footprint, all staying in the same place. Universal, in a way, they've kind of created their own bubble now, and this helps with that name recognition, getting something out, especially these properties like the Horror Unleashed property, which is here in Vegas, that people are going to flock to because they love this stuff. I have worked in so many different haunted houses, and they're never unpopular. I mean, there's always lines, whether I was doing Fright Nights at Six Flags or downtown St. Louis when I was a kid. I've worked at Universal, Halloween Horror Nights. I've been a scare actor in many, many different venues over the years, and they are so popular. People love to be scared. What can I say?
People do, and I think the area can support this. I do wonder too if it's going to be an all-year operation like Vegas is seemingly going to be. Perhaps Chicago gets maybe a little bit too cold in the wintertime in order to have a 365 operation. So perhaps it might be seasonal, but still, I mean, to have a permanent setup here in Chicago, that is monumental for sure. And look, this is Universal kind of looking at these other markets. Hey, can we look outside of California? Can we look outside of Florida? Can we set up in these other areas? And as Ron beautifully points out, you're creating this new almost bubble, but you're also creating this consumer interest in your product in these various markets, so that, hey, maybe you can set up to go to a Florida or a California. I also want to point this out right here. Not that. This map obviously is, we haven't gotten confirmation on pretty much anything here outside of Chicago, Vegas, and Texas. But it says right here, Universal's theme park division growth is insane. Comcast has told them to go. With the Chicago Unleashed announcement, could we see another Universal Kids announcement soon? I have to imagine that the Northeast Philadelphia, Northwest Seattle are the next locations. So that's the thing. I think they're kind of laying the groundwork to set up multiple installations of these experiences driven products that we're now seeing here. Universal Kids, like Legoland, you can, I think, very easily set those up in some ancillary locations there. So that the question's going to be like, what can we expect from Universal in the next 5 years? especially with surprise announcements like this. It is fascinating to see this exponential growth right here. Nolan, do you want to finish this off?
Absolutely. Hey, this has been long overdue. In the Midwest, there's a big trend when it comes to, making that big Florida trip every year because, it's been we've been so starved of having good theme park options. And while that's no disrespect to, a lot of the Six Flags and Cedar Fair parks, but there is, as our friend Erica as our friend Erica has said many times, there's a big difference, honestly, between theme parks and amusement parks. And themed attractions can be very hard to come by around here. And the elements have been a major factor of that. The winters around here are very harsh, frigid. I walk outside and my face hurts, and I don't like it when my face hurts. It's a lot of pain, guys. But it happens. And if they can really, centralize some of these buildings in some key areas, Chicago, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Michigan's Adventure, that poor theme park up there with no competition, all starved out. I mean, they're just begging for something to come in and show it how it's done. And you think there would be some more themed attractions within buildings, because there's one thing we got around here is, there's a lot of buildings out there of dead businesses, so to speak, that were killed off from Amazon, just waiting, prime real estate, just waiting for something fun to happen with it from a team that has a budget. And if this is true, that Universal is and Comcast is basically telling Universal, go, expand, they are going to literally now be the next Disney. And if you start seeing, shows where instead of the sitcoms that have the episode of, oh, we're going to Disney World, or like that old Muppet special where they went to Disney, if you start seeing it where instead, oh, they're going to Epic Universe, oh, they're going to Horror Unleashed, and you have to think of how this is going to affect the zeitgeist. If some people, like, their first dates are at Horror Unleashed, 20 years from now, people are going to write stories about like what happened on their day and do like sitcoms about how a lot of TV shows from, like, say, the 90s used to do scripts about doing adventures at the drive-in movie theater. People have needed things to go to because of the social media age. And I am all for this. This doesn't come off to me as super, corporate and sterile. This seems like this is a product that had a demand, and Comcast is answering it. And if they keep allocating that budget there, I really hope they reap the rewards, because it seems well earned, and there's a lot of passion from the Universal equivalent of Imagineers behind the scenes.
I just think this is unbelievably awesome stuff to be on the precipice of Universal expanding so aggressively all over the United States. I think it's just tremendously exciting for a lot of people who have wanted domestic experiences. Just, we just haven't gotten any from the big two until now.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.